Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Sam and Cole podcast, October the 4th, 2015, which, by the way, is my youngest daughter's birthday. So happy birthday to Whitney, right, who got engaged this summer. So congratulations and happy birthday. As always, Cole and I are thankful for the support of Champion Cycling. The three locations are Arlington, the Beach, and Mandarin. I stopped in and saw Phil at the Mandarin store the other day. Cole and I need to talk to you about that because he's got some surprises for you if you like.
Oh, all right.
But any one of those three places, all your cycling needs, those guys, they know what they're talking about now that the weather has changed. I know a lot of you will get back out there on your bikes. And whether it's mountain biking or just a beach cruiser or a serious road bike, they can handle you at one of those three places. So the Jaguars lose a game, Cole, that you can call it winnable or gettable or whatever. They lose it to Matt Hasselbeck, who's, I mean, they talk about people's age, but I don't think that's that much of a big deal anymore in athletics because guys do such a better job taking care of themselves, nutrition, fitness, and all that. But Matt Hasselbeck, besides, I don't care whether they had Andrew Luck or not. The Jaguars could have won this game had he been in it, should have won this game with Matt Hasselbeck in it.
Yeah.
Too many opportunities blown. And I'm not somebody who points at the kicker, although kickers are paid to make kicks. But there were too many other chances that the Jaguars had the ball in the red zone once at the 6 and settled for 3 points. You can't do that against a team that, I'd say the Colts are not the class of the division anymore. They're a different football team.
I don't think anybody's the class of this division, quite honestly.
That's true.
I don't think this is a very good division. The Texans got absolutely blitzkrieged
annihilated,
by Atlanta today. Tennessee had the best day of anybody probably, and they were on a bye. And I say that a little bit tongue in cheek, knowing that the Colts obviously won, but this was this was a real barometer game for me because without Andrew Luck, I think we learned more about the Jaguars than if Andrew Luck had been in there. If Andrew Luck's in there and healthy, going to Indy, even the Colts are not a great team, but with Luck, it makes them better. And if they lose, even in the same way, I mean, I understand what you're saying about even if Luck is in there that goes this way, it's a game they could have won. But even if they lose to Luck, it's on the road the whole bit. But this is a game that an average team should win.
Yep.
On the road against a powered down, struggling and not full strength kind of opponent in the division who you know a lot about. This is the kind of game an average team wins. Good teams win this almost all the time. Average teams win it most of the time.
Which is what the Colts are, and they did.
And I'm talking about being in the Jaguars being on the road even against a team that doesn't have their starting quarterback.
Right.
And so the Jaguars are trying to get to the point where they are an average team, right? And I think in the NFL, average is usually 6-10 to 9-7, right? That's
agreed.
That's usually an average team. Some 6-10 teams aren't average, but most of the time they are. That's where the Jaguars need to get to. They need to get to being an average team. And right now, they're not an average team. I think we learned a lot more this week about them than we did last week when they got bombed by the Patriots up in New England. This tells me a whole lot more. And yes, there were some good things. I thought Bortles played very well, particularly early in the game. I'm still not sure, and I know this is my pet peeve here, my pet project, but I'm not sure why that they would take Sam Young out. He hasn't been the issue. I know that
No.
maybe there's giving Jokel enough rope to hang himself. I don't know. And
Gus Bradley did address that this week because that question was asked, and he said, just from the continuity standpoint and from the run game, they felt like the Jokel was equal to Young as a pass blocker and better as a run blocker.
I don't.
Okay, you can debate that, but that was their answer.
Yeah, I understand. I understand they have an answer for it. I just don't. Yeah. I don't understand.
My problem is that, and our colleague Dan Hicken actually tweeted this, said bad trend when Bortles plays good in the first half and plays worse than that in the second half, and that's been a kind of a theme so far. Mm-hmm. And I also think that despite Gus talking about looking at the adversity and overcoming it. I think this team is weak-minded. I think they need leadership. I don't know if Senderic Marks and Julius Thomas back in the lineup, whenever that happens, changes that. But I think a lot of guys are standing around waiting for some other guy to make the play. And Huzluzny leaves the field, and there's a massive drop-off in not only the production, but the organization of the defense and what happens there. The Jaguars have, a penalty because they got too many guys on the field on defense. They snapped the ball, gettable by Bortles down by his ankles, but didn't make the play. This was one of those games where you waited for them to kind of do that stupid thing that usually gets them beat, and they did. I mean, it's not Groundhog Day because it's not the same thing over and over, but it sure seems like the same result is out there waiting.
Sam, I said this several weeks ago, and I think you asked this of Telvin Smith. I still don't think they have learned not to lose, how not to lose. This is still the thing. Whether you're talking about missed field goals or committing penalty, 5 penalties on one drive that happened to be the touchdown drive, the only touchdown that the Colts had all game long, not being organized, what have you. Those are the things, and you can say, well, the missing the kick is on the kicker, and it is. But all of these things are one guy doing it right. And a team learning not to lose is 11 guys doing it right on a given play, and then repeating that and doing it. And nobody does that better than the Patriots. They do things right, the precision and the whole bit there. I think the kicker thing is going to be interesting because what a pendulum in terms of perception from Thursday night to tonight in terms of the Jaguars kicking situation, because it's going to be compared. Myers and Scobie are going to be compared. And
absolutely.
Scobie's the national GOAT, or at least the GOAT for Steeler Nation, which, quite frankly, kind of makes him go up a notch in my book that he caused the Steelers to lose. But the fact that he's going to be out and available, and the Jaguars here just saw a guy really miss 3 game-winning field goals, 3 chances. One of them was called on the timeout, but he missed it. So I don't know if do you give Scobie a call? You got his number, and if you do, boy, that's a quick give up. I'm not saying that Myers is not going to be a good kicker at some point, but the decision to do this, to make this move, these are the reasons why you wouldn't have done it, right? Because you thought Scobie would have made one of those kicks, and I don't know if he does or doesn't.
Right. Hey, I quoted Caldwell on Twitter today.
Yeah.
When they cut Scobie, and he said, "Look, we know he's going to miss. He's not going to make them all. We'll live with the misses. We'll grow with him as a kicker." So is that what we're all supposed to accept, that he's going to miss 3 kicks at the end of the game? The last one, eminently makeable, 48-yard field goal that looked good 3/4 of the way there, and then it made a hard left.
Yeah.
But I just think there were too many other opportunities. Yes, I think professional kickers should make kicks inside of 50 yards. But outside of that, I also think that, when you get to the 6-yard line, there are plenty of options there. And I hated the play calling down there as well, as much as I hated the execution. So I just think that there are just so many things that that could have changed the outcome of that game all along, rather than just wait till come down to try to kick a 53-yarder to win it.
Well, not the least of which being, feel free to score more than 3 points in the second half of a game when you have a chance to make a this could wind up being such a substantial game when we look back on it, for Gus Bradley, for the season in total. The next 2 weeks they've got Tampa Bay and Houston, certainly winnable games. And if they win both of those games, then they're sitting there, at 3-3, and all right, you feel okay about it. If they split or don't or lose both of them, I mean, God forbid they lose both of those games. I mean, the city will be.
Yeah, those are bad teams. Those are bad teams.
They are.
The Jaguars are not a good team, and they proved today that they're not an average team. Yeah. But I don't think that they're a bad team either. I don't think they're in that class.
I think they've got a foot in that class, Sam.
I think they're down there, but I don't think. I think that I'm looking on the field today. I'm watching that game today, And I'm like, look, the Jaguar, you line up against this Colts team, particularly with Hasselbeck at quarterback. There's nobody over there except for Hilton that scares you.
Yeah.
Outside of that, everybody was about the same. I didn't feel like anybody dominated the game. I didn't feel like that, that there was that the Jaguars were constantly playing from behind. I just felt like there was that there's this lack of somebody that grabs them by the throat figuratively and says, all right, let's go, let's get this, let's take it up a notch.
Well, it's your favorite phrase from Tom Coughlin, right?
Play above the X's and O's.
Exactly. Yeah,
and that's what they do. That's what they're not doing. And that's a very good point, Cole. That's what they're not doing. They're not playing above the X's and O's. They're playing kind of at the X's and O's. Bortles was good in the first half, but could step his game up to another notch.
Sure. Now, I will say from a Bortles standpoint, sorry to interrupt, but from a Bortles standpoint, he's doing this year what you would expect a second-year quarterback to do, which is show some flashes but have some inconsistency. Usually rookie quarterbacks struggle, showing a flash every now and again. Second-year quarterback, unless who's going to be a good quarterback, not a star, not Elway or Peyton or somebody like this, but somebody who's going to be a good quarterback. They're going to show some time, look very good at times. They're going to look not so good at times, but they're going to look more in control, top to bottom, which I think Bortles is doing.
Right, but I think when he's inconsistent, you can really trace it back to the fundamentals that he gets away from, and you can see it that he's not sticking with those fundamentals that have made him a better player, or made him flash as a better player than he was as a rookie. Whether it's the footwork, the shoulder rotation, how the reads, whatever happens, he has the physical ability and the knowledge, I think, to have a command presence. So it kind of drives me crazy that he doesn't have a command presence. He does not you see that C on his jersey. He should have some sort of a command presence. But I don't know who that is. Generally, people admit that despite the fact that Brunell was a Pro Bowl MVP, that Baselli was the leader,
no doubt,
on that side. That in the time that he was here, that Jurkovic played a big part in that role, and Clyde Simmons played that role.
Later in his career, Fred Taylor embraced that role.
Fred Taylor played that role. So who are those guys on this team? I think Pusluzny is that on defense, and I think that's one of the reasons that it so dramatically changes when he's not in there. But on offense, I think they're still searching for that. Bortles isn't comfortable in that role yet, clearly. And missing Lindner today, they had two rookies in the middle of that defensive line, and they shuffled around the offensive line, and the Jaguars failed to take advantage of it. And I will say, early in the game, I was just amazed after letting Tom Brady pick them apart, playing a zone behind rushing 4, that they did the same thing at the beginning of this game. I mean, with Matt Hasselbeck in there, I'd have played press coverage and rushed 7 or 8 guys every time and said, let's see what you guys can do here.
And they did play a lot more press coverage in this game than they did against New England. I mean,
later,
they just top to bottom. I mean, they played a lot more. I'm kind of looking at this from a big picture now, and this is sort of a question as much as anything. And here we are, 9:45 p.m. and we're taping this after the game, so we've had a little bit of time to hear from Jaguars fans and interact, whether it's social media or people out and about or what have you. This felt like the reaction that I've noted here so far that this has been one of those cash in your chips games. That when you have a bad season at some point in the year, you have not necessarily a majority, but maybe a plurality of Jaguars fans or fans of a particular team say, the heck with them. I'm not investing emotionally anymore in this team this year. And it's not saying I'm never going to support them or anything else, but they're more this week than last week. Last week they were embarrassed about it. This week they're like, we're just the same old thing. And I don't know that it's accurate, but I think I do think there's a fan thought now that people are thinking same old Jaguars.
I have a Jaguar fan that I'm pretty close to that I watch the games with a lot, and I sometimes I quote that person on Twitter, and Jaguar fan today said, that's really disappointing. I'm just not going to waste my Sundays anymore watching these guys. Well, now that's the first time I've heard that in a long time. I don't think I've ever heard that because the Jaguars themselves, and we in the media are as guilty, raised the expectations this year of better play and more, just
more.
Hashtag more. That's right. Exactly. I couldn't think of it, but that's exactly what it is. And it just hasn't manifested itself. We've seen that basically in the second half, in the fourth quarter of the Dolphins game. Outside of that, we really haven't seen it.
Hey, we've gone to the quarter post of the season here, Sam. We're 4 games in.
Well, that's true.
They're 1-4.
I'm mad at Marquise Lee because
can't stay Lee.
I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, what is it about that guy that keeps him from playing? Is he got a bad diet, doesn't get the right rest? What is it that makes him, so talented yet he can't get on the field? I'm waiting for Julius Thomas and Senderick Marks to come back, and you wait around for all this, and maybe the Jaguars will go on this fabulous run at the end of the year when they figure it out. But right now, I mean, the overriding emotion of so many Jaguar fans is just utter disappointment.
Yeah, 1-4. If you do that every quarter of the season, you're 4-12, and I don't think that's going to be good enough.
1-3. Yeah.
I mean, if you go 1-3 through 4, you're right. Yeah, 1 out of 4.
Right.
You wind up 4-12, and that's where you are.
Just remember, next week against Tampa. Well, the Bucs think that's the game they're going to win.
Yeah, they're favored, by the way.
Right. They think that's the game they're going to win.
Yeah.
And the next week against Houston, the Texans think, this is the game that we're going to win. So, if Jaguar fans who are kind of blindly optimistic want to think, okay, well, they're going to be 3-3. As Lee Corso says, not so fast, my friend.
That's right. Hey, quick word on the Gators, by the way.
Yep.
I think they found the right guy. And this may be a weird thing to say, but I may have felt stronger if they had won a closer game against Ole Miss about him being the right guy than a blowout game against Ole Miss. Because a blowout game against the third-ranked team in the country, you think, well, geez, that was just one of those everything that could go right for Florida did and everything that could go wrong for Ole Miss did. I'm not saying that I don't think he's the right guy, but I just had that thought of, boy, if they had won 31-28, you think, boy, he really got these guys ready and played against the third-ranked team, and they did it. Sometimes in a game, it's out of everybody's control, and it's just this ethereal effect.
Thing that happens.
Everything rolls in the right direction, and it did for Florida Saturday.
I think that he's made some very good decisions with Will Grier and with Kelvin Taylor. The defense is actually very good, and they've gotten some guys back this year that they maybe didn't think they were going to get back. And Hargraves continues to be a very solid guy over there, probably be a first-round pick. But, he has, and the he we're talking about is McElwain, he has the ability to kind of almost downplay it. I mean, after the game, he said, well, that was kind of cool, and he even said to, I think was it Tracy Wolfson on the sidelines, she was asking about the following week, and he said, you think I might be able to enjoy this for just a few minutes? But he does have that. And last week when McElwain played, when Will Grier played well at the end of the game, he said, well, he's the quarterback. Those are the plays he's supposed to make. Yeah. So he does have a way of relating to the players and to the fans that I think is attractive to Florida. Nobody's ever going to be Spurrier but Spurrier. So McElwain has to blaze his own trail, but as a guy, whether he's humble or not, as a guy who comes off as, kind of folksy, Montana, well, gee, I'm just trying to, do the best job. Yeah. Just trying to do the best job we can here. I mean, that Gator fans like that. That's what they want in their coach.
Well, they also like the winning, which has been a long time since they've had that.
Well, yeah.
In this
the atmosphere there is, reminds you of the 90s.
Yeah, which I didn't think would happen this quickly. Quite honestly,
I didn't either. I thought they'd be 2-2 at this point. But,
I did too.
But
which makes it for an intriguing Florida Georgia game too on Halloween.
Second largest jump in the polls in the history of the poll. Florida went from 25th to 11th.
Yeah.
Somebody said the biggest was Arizona, went from unranked to like 10th or something. So, but hey, like you said, Florida, Georgia.
As long as Georgia takes care of business and does what they need to,
expectations and obviously Florida undefeated.
Yeah, and if Georgia can bounce back from what happened against Alabama. I also just wanted one last thing on high school football.
Yes, sir.
This is a really intriguing year for high school football in Florida, in Jacksonville, in the Jacksonville area, particularly for the smaller category teams. And everything is shaping up. As you know, I do the Bowls games on radio. Bowls Reigns could be an enormous game on the Thursday of Florida Georgia week.
Great football game. Congratulations to Corky Rogers for winning his 450th. Makes him the third winningest high school coach in history.
Yeah, fifth now. Fifth winningest. Yeah. So.
No.
Yeah.
That guy in New Jersey lost.
Yeah, but they've been going back. So he's fifth right now. I'm pretty sure it's not. I'm gonna have to I'll double check it. I know you said third on TV, but I think it's fifth. But anyhow, you're parsing numbers here. But
who's number one? McKissick at Somerville?
I think so. Yeah,
John McKissick. I think he's the number one guy.
Yeah.
It's funny because having lived in Charleston, Somerville is a suburb basically of Charleston, and for years and years, the school district up there has always wanted to put another school in Somerville. And John McKissick told me when I worked there 35 years ago, don't worry, that'll never happen.
Good to know that academics are being driven by high school football.
That's like talking about putting another Catholic parish in Mandarin.
Right. Not likely to happen.
Dan Cody was not going to let that happen. That wasn't going to happen.
By the way, and last thing here, it was not a great weekend for the Jacksonville, Indianapolis rivalry. The Armada had a 1-0 lead. Red card pulled in the 63rd minute, and Indy winds up scoring the equalizer, and they escape with a point. So Indy won out over Jacksonville with a win and a draw over the weekend.
So does that severely diminish the chances for postseason play for the Armada?
Actually, a lot of things happened in front of the Armada that actually benefited them in terms of the standings. You had teams that were ahead that lost. The Armada are, I'll have to check with some of the results from tonight, but I think they're 7 points out with 5 to play. It's a tough road, but if they play the way they've been playing and don't get red cards pulled, then they're probably, I think they have a chance to make it interesting. But they're going to lose 2 guys this week to international play for the Haiti national team. Then they'll lose one more who's playing for Guam as well soon. So they're going to have to get some guys who will step up.
We'll keep an eye on that. Very good. Hope you enjoyed the Sam and Cole podcast. As always, thanks to Champion Cycling and their 3 locations. Stop by and see Jim in Arlington or Brian at the beach or Phil in Mandarin and tell them we sent you. And Cole, I'll give you your surprise at some point. But thanks to those guys for their continued support. You can follow Cole on Twitter at Cole Pepper, and you can follow me at Sam Kavaris. And we will talk to you sometime this week prior to the trip to Tampa for the Bucs game for the Jaguars. That's coming up right here on the Sam and Cole podcast.